Well, do you know why, and I think this will extend to Dylan too, but do you know why I never was really that big into shed hunting?
It's lame. No, I'm kidding.
Well, what's it all mean? And that's the thing too. It's kind of like I never shed hunted because I never thought that it was a part of a buck's pattern during the hunting season, and that's a big thing. And that's part of it for me, the strategy. That's why I don't know about you, Dylan, but that was why
I just never had land where I was that connected to the bucks. Where I would shed hunt property that I hunted, but as far as just going and pounding ground just to find random antlers, that to me just wasn't the draw.
especially random ground.
Yeah.
That was like public land somewhere. Drive people. We know people that drive different states, several states away, just to shed hunt. What's it all mean? You find some antlers.
I mean, that's
kind of cool.
to each their own.
Yeah. It's hiking. It's fun, but don't confuse yourself with. And that's the biggest myth of shedding on it all. That it's helping you unravel the secrets of a buck. We know a lot of good shed hunters that never shoot deer, and there's reasons for that we'll go over here. But bottom line is, it's cool. I love it. I love it on client properties because we're walking good land and we get to look over and see if there's any sheds around. You start to pick up on them good. I'm sure, Dylan, now that you've been to a lot of clients, you're a lot better shed hunter than you were 5 years ago.
I do like picking up antlers.
Yeah.
Especially on client days. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. And they get excited too.
I had some, last week where it was, the guys were ecstatic.
Yeah.
So it was really just cool to see.
Yeah, it is really cool, especially when you're working on the habitat, the food, and you know more deer are there, and you find a lot of sheds. It means something for, especially your land management as it goes in from, you're managing for good fall food and cover, and then that extends into the winter time. As long as that food lasts, a lot of times you'll find some antlers. Just because they're gone doesn't mean anything either. Doesn't mean you're not going to have a good hunt. And that's where we talk about this, number one. Does it unravel the secrets of buck patterns? And I don't believe it does to about 80-90%. In fact, I've had people come up to me. There's one I can think of, a client, where his neighbor finds a ton of sheds. He had a brassica field in Illinois. The deer wouldn't hit it till wintertime. And the guy was talking about, isn't it great that all these deer are dropping their antlers there, but they're not there during the fall, so he can't hunt them. He can't advance those bucks to the next age class. They don't contribute into building a good herd. He's not even giving them good nutrition before they go into the winter months. That pre-build up to the winter is often more important to get that deer's energy and those energy levels high before they go into the winter than trying to make up for it when you're in the winter and your energy levels have already been depleted. And so that person would find a bunch of antlers in this brassica plot, but they never shoot or see those deer in the fall. That's not a good thing either. We see that where I had someone come up to me at the Stockyard restaurant in Coon Valley, and they said, all those bucks that you talk about and shoot in the fall, and this is going back 10 years ago. His name was Paul. He was from Minnesota, but he said, we see all those bucks during the summertime. We get all their sheds in the late winter, but we never see those bucks in the fall. I want to be the one that has those bucks in the fall. But you see those comments a lot. And then it extends to people that are finding a lot of antlers. They're not having a good hunt. And so does it help you unravel the secrets of a buck? Maybe where the cover type they like in the winter, they might be able to match onto your property for fall. Maybe where they sit and they locate, especially bedding areas outside of doe areas. Maybe as it relates to scouting, where you can see rubs and scrapes that actually took place during the hunting season. And that just comes as a byproduct of looking for sheds. You're actually scouting. But I find most of the time when I'm looking for sheds, I'm looking for antlers. And so you could say, well, we're out here scouting, we're getting to know the property better. You're getting to know the land better, maybe, but you're thinking about where you can find an antler, and your eyes are always open. And a lot of times you forget about the strategies that you can be employing on your property for actual hunting season. Winter, food, and cover. You just repeat that. Winter, food, and cover. It's a lot different than fall, food, and cover. Going back to the story, he was actually a wildlife biologist. They had all those brassicas and dropping antlers in Illinois and then not finding those bucks during the fall. Your cover needs to be slanted towards fall. Maybe you have enough food and enough cover that you're holding deer into the winter. But if your food supply runs low, those mature bucks are going to travel a long ways to go find that winter food, where does won't. They're homebodies. So a lot of times where you see giant doe herds, for one, they take up space. They don't allow a lot of the mature bucks to be in there. Mature bucks don't want to be there, and so bucks will be someplace else. I told a story about my client the other day that was 80 acres in northern Ohio, and we saw a wave of deer once we got to the middle of his property and went over a little rise of a pond, And there was 40, 50 deer that ran away in a big cloud, just a big wave of deer moving to the neighbors. And it was 40, 50 deer, all does and fawns. And you could tell that. I mean, it was all does and fawns. No antlers in the whole group, and they haven't dropped their antlers at that time. Most of them. 220 yards across the field, across 20-acre field, and into a 5-acre woodlot next to a big 40-acre CRP field. That's where I wanted to go look for antlers. That's where I would look for antlers, away from the does. So a lot of times you find great winter food for does and fawns. Doesn't necessarily mean the bucks are there. So really big difference. Bucks are really bachelor'd up right now. A lot of times we're seeing 4 or 5 at a time right now. And where those bucks winter, and I can tell you right now where we're watching them, is not. Now they'll follow the same movement patterns. If they come through that area, they'll move in the same trails. They'll end up in the same locations. But they're not living there during the fall like they're living there during the winter. For one's a point, for one example, they can bed on one side of the point or the other, then get out of the wind on either side, and then they're going to big open hay fields and cut corn, with corn still scattered on the ground from poor harvest practices. And so those bucks just have so much food. They can bed on that point. It's away from does that are closer to the big corn fields. The does are bedding over there. And so pretty interesting to see where those bucks are at during the winter, and they're not there during the fall. So look at that right there. And then also, not only do bucks not live in those locations in the fall that you typically find a shed, but you're also really misleading yourself. And so it's hard when you find antlers in a location to not hunt there in the fall. It's hard when you find winter sign, beds, movement tracks, deer. It's hard not to say, man, we need to hunt there during the fall. It's really hard. So it's misleading. It's misleading you. And so that misleading aspect of it is a portion of shed hunting that I think really there's a lot of people, unless they really step outside the box. Now, it might be on public land. You're just scouring public land. You're putting in a few dozen miles a weekend. You're finding those sheds, and then you're going back to those areas because you know a mature buck dropped, and then you're trying to figure them out from there. But if you go, this is where his antler drops, this is where he's going to be in the fall, most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, that couldn't be further from the truth. Really take it for a grain of salt. I think shed hunting is great. Some of my favorite walks out on the property here in Minnesota have been just going for a walk, looking for sheds, soaking in the sunlight, actually listening to some birds that are coming back right now. It's not that dead of winter. It seems like things are starting to soften up a little bit. Birds are coming back. We're seeing some ground here and there. We haven't had the below zero temperatures for 3 or 4 weeks or 2 or 3 weeks. So I love those walks. I mean, it's almost like springtime. It has that smell in there. It's almost overwhelming. It almost tires you out. It's a cool feeling to be out in the spring this time of year. Great shed hunting. I love that activity. I look at it more for hiking and just enjoying family time, friends. We're going to do that this Thursday where we have Jen. Mike's coming in, our friend, to hang out for a few days, do some ice fishing. We're going to do some shed hunting. We're going to bring the pellet guns along. We'll try to get some rabbits and some squirrels, but Dante will probably come along for some shed hunting too, for an extra set of young eyes. And we're going to really enjoy shed hunting. But look at those bucks made it through the season. Obviously, we've already gotten pictures of them anyways. So we'll look forward to finding those sheds. We look forward to collecting them. But as it relates to hunting, other than they're there, not so much. As far as it relates to strategy and unraveling their patterns and their secrets and their movement secrets for the fall. So take that for a grain of salt when you're out shed hunting this year. And that might even help you, because if you're looking in your fall areas, you're probably not going to find sheds. You need to look outside that box in a completely different area than you hunt a lot of times to find and locate sheds, especially as it relates to this hunting season coming up. And I want to mention real quick, they have this furnace hoodie on right here. It's a new product from First Light. I love it. These are coming out. I think they're on sale about the 21st of February, so that's coming up really quick. But the furnace is the layer, the heavyweight layer that I wear, oh boy, probably 60-70% of the times in the woods. You'll see me with a quarter zip black one. I wear that a lot. I have a green one and a gray one, but I wear those a lot. And they have this dark brown color now, same furnace hoodie, but only has a hood and it has a couple snaps up here, even if you want to tighten it a little bit closer. So a really cool garment. They have a fuse, which is the more midweight merino wool. And they have that in a hoodie now in this brown color, and then they have some of their tech tees too. So check out the link in the description. You can find those. It's a brand new product coming out right now. Make sure you hit the link, go check it out. And really cool product I love. I'm looking forward to wearing this out. I'll probably wear it with a vest or something, go out shed hunting pretty darn soon. Hey, I'm really excited to introduce to you our Hills and Thermals web class. It's something we worked on all year. We're trying to put lots of facets of scouting, aerial imagery, diagrams on the whiteboard to really teach you how the wind moves through hills and how you should find bedding areas, how it relates to deer movements in general, how that relates to this is a bedding area stand, this is a food source afternoon stand. We really tried to put this together and offer you a complete picture of how to navigate hills and find better success consistently where you hunt.